Good evening, everyone, and thank you for watching a special Barry Beat tonight. Super excited to get Mr. Steve, the one, the only, Steve Mackenzie in the studio. Good evening, Steve.
Good evening, Michael.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
Glad to be here.
Nice. Want to let folks know that Raylene is still a little under the weather, so she's not here with us tonight. But we felt it was really important to have a show, and more importantly, to get Steve down here and to, we're going to drill him for information about, how his retirement's going and everything else. But we're also going to talk about the reason why he's down here, which is to give us some information about the deal that BADC is doing, or the campaign to raise funds to finally get the building out of the hands of some individuals, the old JJ Newberrys building. But before we do that, so Steve, how's retirement going?
I enjoy it. I enjoy the flexibility of being able to do things when you want, the absence of a daily routine, a daily schedule. Certainly, it's a lot less pressure packed, and I'm really enjoying it. I really am, and actually trying to stay busy civically in a number of different ways.
Yeah, I know I've tried multiple times to get you to run for school board, city council, committees. I've only been able to successfully to get you on the transportation advisory committee.
Yeah, the other stuff, been there, done that.
Yeah, so that's one thing, and that's the most I guess I'm going to get. For folks that don't know who Steve is, I'm surprised. Steve has been in Barre. How long have you lived in Barre for, Steve?
All my life, born and brought up here, 76 years.
You lived on College Street?
It's College Street now. It used to be Richardson Street when I grew up there.
Richardson Street.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good evening, Glenn. So
when
you've been here.
When 9/11 came in, it changed.
Huh?
When 9/11 addressing came in, it changed.
Oh, okay, yep, because you wouldn't want to mix it with Richardson Road.
Correct.
Yep. Same thing that happened to Prospect Ave, which became Oliver Street.
I think there are probably a dozen
I think it was
streets
Oliver
around
Street.
that changed the name.
Yeah. So you've been here all your life. You have been a school board member, right? You've been on city council.
Right.
You've been the city manager for
12 years.
12 years.
Yep.
12 years. And am I missing something? Because you've also been a bunch of civic committees.
Yeah, currently I'm in. I've been in Barre Kiwanis for 40 some odd years. Currently, I'm president of the Kiwanis Club. In years past, I've participated in. When Mike Welch was city manager. I'm not even sure if you remember Mike Welch or not.
I do not.
But he had a pretty long tenure. It might have been 8 years or so. But when he was city manager, I got involved in the budget committee, water committee, Barre City, Barre Town Water Committee, years and years ago. Made some good friends with folks from the town who served on the committee. So it's been civically involved in a number of different ways over the years.
You've given a lot to Barre City for sure.
Well, thank you.
And I know that I appreciate it, and I know a lot of people have appreciated. Yeah. And even in your retirement, you're still giving. And which is why you're here tonight, is because you want to talk about something that you're currently working on with BADC, which for folks that don't know, BADC is Barre Area Development. It's our development corporation within Barre City and Barre Town. And Jacqueline Higgins says hello.
Well, hello. Hi, Jackie.
So tell me, what is this thing that's going on?
Yeah, well, it's a project that I dubbed the 143 Main Street Initiative. And 143 Main Street, of course, is the address of the JJ Newberrys building, and also the building next to it, which I think it was the old Gladstone shoe store at one time. They look like two separate structures. They're actually one building. But this initiative is a project started that I proposed the concept to the board of directors of BADC quite some time ago, actually, in the spring, I think around May. And it was just after we had done some strategic planning at the BADC level, and also after a series of flood forums that had been held in the community to try to deal with recovery of the community after the floods. And a common complaint that came out of all of those forums and out of the strategic planning process was that abandoned building on downtown Barre. It's I think, number one complaint on the street. I realize we have other issues and so on, but it's been an eyesore, it's been a complaint and talked about for at least 10 years. I think the building has been abandoned for 15 years. So I know that the city, or knew that the city had made an offer to buy the property, but it wasn't taken seriously by the property owners. So after hearing the complaints again and again and again at the forums and in the strategic planning process, I said, well, somebody's got to do something about it. So my proposal to the board of directors, which they all endorsed, unanimously endorsed as a concept, was that a credible offer had to be made to the current owners. And by credible offer, I meant it had to be sizable enough financially, and it had to be done in a very formal, very legal way, not just an email, not a letter or whatever, but so we developed a legally binding purchase option. And I had worked with Jeff Jacobs, who's one of the two owners. Steve Lewenstein is the other owner. He lives in Newport, Rhode Island. But I'd worked with Jeff Jacobs way back in the early years of my tenure as city manager, because we needed to buy a property from him to develop the Enterprise Alley project. That property was the TNT building, if anybody remembers that. But at any rate, I was able to resurrect a purchase and sale agreement that had gone dormant, had actually expired, but resurrected that deal, and so that was the first time I'd ever worked with Jeff Jacobs. So I thought that might be enough of a connection to be able to approach him with this offer. So we prepared an offer, and I said it had to be credible. So the asking price for the property, we understand it has been as much as 1.2 to 1.4 $1 million, clearly far and away more than what the property assesses at. The property assesses at $325,000. In today's market, a sale of that property would certainly go for more than $325,000. Would it go for $1 million? Who knows? But I felt that there had to be a credible offer and not one that met their asking price. So we prepared that offer. I started this initiative in May, and it took probably until November to pull everything together. Had a number of conversations with Mr. Jacobs leading up to putting forth a proposal, and put forth a proposal in November, the purchase proposal, which was the purchase option. And it took about 4 to 6 weeks for it to work through to a point where it was, they executed it. Jeff and Steve executed the purchase option. Now, the terms of the purchase option are that we have 6 months to raise the balance, raise the amount of money we need. Now, the purchase price is $1 million, I'm sorry, and but we need more than that in order to deal with closing and carrying of the property. So we set a fundraising goal of $1.1 million, $1 million to purchase it, and $100,000 for closing costs, property transfer tax, and other, I'm sure, latent costs that will be involved in carrying and transferring the property. So $1,000,001 is the goal. Then the next step, once we had an executed purchase option, the next step was to approach the city council, because I knew that they had allocated, a previous council had allocated $400,000, which again wasn't accepted, but I thought if the council saw fit to do that once, that they would see fit to do it again. And having a financial allocation from the council and the endorsement of the council would be a huge step in a very significant fundraising campaign. So it was critically important to achieve that endorsement and achieve that financial commitment. And after a few meetings with the council, and one, I think the last one was at the end of December, the council voted to make that allocation. So in addition to that, there are 15 directors on the board of Barre Area Development Corporation. And collectively, the directors have pledged $75,000, which works out to about an average of $5,000 per director, which I felt was important because I feel the directors need to have skin in the game behind this proposal. So we've raised $475,000 out of that $1.1 million goal, and that's about 40% of the goal we need. So we're off to a good start.
Pretty good
I
start.
didn't know if you had a question.
Yeah, well, I do want to, let's talk about the board,
Yeah.
right? One thing that folks may not know, and not everybody knows who or what BADC is, but let's talk about the board,
Sure.
right? You've got Carl Rinker, which, you know, almost everybody knows Carl. I mean, he's been very active in our community since
Carl
the
is
dawn
a
of
board
creation.
member, and he's serving as interim director now and has been since, I think, October.
Yeah. And like I said, has been in our community since the dawn of creation. Used to
Oh,
own.
yeah. I remember in high school.
And then we've got Robert Lord.
Yeah.
And of course, Steve Mackenzie.
Yeah. But we have Bob Lord, who's president of E.F. Wall Associates, a local construction company. We've got, in no
David
particular
Sitchell.
order, pardon?
David Sitchell, who's
David Sickle.
or Sickle. Oh,
Yeah,
why am I
Sickle.
saying Sitchell?
Well,
Sitchell.
I've made that mistake too before. But
Okay,
David Sickle.
I'm sorry, Dave.
Who's retired but served many, many years with the Vermont League of Cities and Towns.
And he's on the Planning Commission.
Yes, I think he's chair of the Planning Commission, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I believe so. And then there's Al Flory.
Al Flory, who recently retired from Northfield Savings Bank.
Yeah, and Sarah Fields.
Sarah Field, who's
Or Field.
Sarah Field, who's a local lawyer.
And has donated hours of time to Barre City.
Well, and not to that,
And-
and to this particular
True,
initiative as well.
true.
Yes.
Well, I know that for professional services, she
Yep.
has been very helpful in Barre City.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Paul Hutchins
Yep.
and Robert Hutchins.
Yes. Paul Hutchins retired from Rock of Ages Corporation. Paul Hutchins is current owner and has been for many years of the La Jeunesse Interiors.
And Chrissy Bellavance.
Yes, yeah, from the Bellavance family.
Yep.
And
And Marcus Browning.
Yeah,
Which
Stone and Browning.
Yeah. Tony Campos.
Yeah, Son of Vermont TV.
Yep. Jennifer Galfetti.
Yes, yeah,
Eddie Roos.
yep,
And Dave Rubel and Amy White. All
Yes.
very, and I bring up their names because these are pillars of our community. People that have donated blood, sweat, and tears to our community.
Yeah.
And I know that it sounds like, oh please. But no, it's true. I mean, it's really true. I mean, I look at Eddie Roos, right? He was on our school board. He is the president of the SHS Foundation, right?
yes, yep, yep.
And these are people that are
He's very
like,
active in Rotary.
Right.
Very active in helping run the concession up at the BOR stand.
people that are dedicated to Barre, and they have decided to endorse this plan, right?
Yes, yep.
And that's something that, when you've got all these really intelligent, successful people that have bled and sweat tears into Barre City, are endorsing a plan, might want to consider what's the plan, right?
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, City Council, I was there when we made that decision to offer the $400,000. Made me a little sick in my stomach when I was there, because of personal issues, and
Sure.
but it's for the betterment of Barre.
Well,
And
let me speak to that too, if I can.
Sure,
I don't mean to
absolutely.
interrupt, but this isn't some unique initiative that all of a sudden pulled a rabbit out of my hat. The precedent has been set for doing something like this in other Vermont communities. And the one I think of in particular is the city of St. Albans, and the city manager, who's been city manager for a long time, Dominic Cloud, faced a similar situation in St. Albans. And if anybody has been to St. Albans recently and went to St. Albans 10 years ago, you're going to see a transformation of a community that was really sort of riding the bottom of the barrel, if you will, to a very vibrant, very attractive, very vital, or a community with vitality today. And Dominic helped lead that initiative, and one of the things he said is they dealt with a problematic property. Owner didn't want to sell, was asking way too much money for it, but he said that what you have to do is you have to just overlook that the price that's being asked is not reasonable, but you just got to pay the price and acquire the property. Absent getting control of the property, it will stay in its current shape for who knows how long.
And let me just share what it currently looks like,
Yeah.
folks. This is a picture of it, and it's looked like this for how many years? Since
Well,
2010,
I would say it
think.
looked like that for probably at least 10, if not longer. I mean,
Yeah.
the last business in there was what, Dollar General?
It was
Not
Dollar General.
No,
But it's been spotty.
Family Dollar, I think,
Yeah,
was the last one.
it's been spotty. It's been spotty even before that.
Yes.
We haven't had an anchor store in there since JJ Newberrys,
Yeah.
and JJ Newberrys was a beautiful building at the time.
Any of us who've been around the city for a while, I just remember it, and
Yeah.
it was part of the core vital downtown.
Yeah.
So, again, this initiative is not some corny idea that Steve Mackenzie developed. And I think the same thing has been done in other communities, Bennington, and so on, where there were key downtown properties that were not contributing to the community, and in fact may have been an anchor on the community. And efforts were made to acquire that property. And that, frankly, if the principal objective of this initiative is to get control of the property. BADC is not going to develop it. What we are serving as a catalyst to get control of this property. Nobody else. There have been no other successful initiatives frankly, the only other initiative I know of, the current mayor had tried to acquire the property when he had his major redevelopment proposal, gosh, I don't know how many years ago, half a dozen years ago, for various reasons that didn't move forward, reasons beyond the mayor's control.
Well, yeah, city
the
council.
the
It
city
was city
coun-
council.
ci-
I mean, I was there. It was city council.
Well,
that
I mean, I don't
botched
want
that one.
to. My point is that there haven't been, very limited efforts to try to do something with the property. They haven't been successful. Other than this, there's nothing current on the table. Hasn't been for at least a couple of years, and this is. I just felt that somebody had to try to do something to get control of this property. And that's the principal objective of this initiative. And once we get that done with somebody who wants to do something with the property, meaning BADC, and by that I mean, so we want to get control of it, and the likely course of action is that we would turn it over to the city. and the city can access grants that, state and federal grants for preparing the property to eventually be acquired by a developer who can and will develop it. And I think the thing I want to say about that is there's been some criticism that, well, you don't have a plan. Well, it's not realistic to think you're going to have a plan for a property you don't own. You're not going to invest in the extensive investment required to prepare a development plan for a property you don't own. And quite frankly, if you develop a plan for a property you don't own, the price of the property is going to go up.
Yeah.
So it's counterintuitive but again, it's not realistic to think you're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars developing a plan for a property you don't own.
And it makes me think of the one thing that I absolutely love as a city councilor that I was a city council during the Barre City Place initiative and how that worked. We had acquired the property.
Yeah, I can speak to that if you'd like me to.
Absolutely. For folks that don't know, it's the big beautiful building right next to the City Place.
Yes. So the vision for developing this property is identical to the process that was used to develop the City Place property. I don't know how many years ago, I was manager 12 plus 2.5, probably 16 or 18 years ago. The city applied for a neighborhood stabilization program grant, an NSP grant. They got $800,000. Half of that went to redevelop a property on Laurel Street. The other half was used to acquire the old Whalen's drugstore, Brooks drugstore. Right next to it was Coins and Hobbies, and then next to that was a vacant lot, which used to be the old Blue Moon Diner for a lot of old timers who will remember that. But the first step was to acquire the property, which was done through the acquisition of a grant from the federal government. In this case, the $400,000 from the city is actually pass-through funds from another federal grant called ARPA, the American Reconstruction. I forget what the acronym is, but those are also federal funds that came to the city in a way similar to, not exactly identical to, but similar to what was done with the City Place property. The property was acquired. Ultimately, funds were found to raise the property, level it, and it sat in a vacant condition for, I can't remember, I'm going to say 3 to 5, 4 to 6 years. At some point, and there was at the beginning, early in my tenure as manager, we actually made a mini park in that, and there were sculptures added, so it was a mini park, a sculpture park, and I think it was very well received at the time. Until Mayor Lozon was elected, and one of his initiatives was to do something with that property. So early in my administration, we worked with the council, we developed requests for proposals, sent those out to developers, received 3 credible proposals. The staff and the council, selected that proposal put forward by New Construction out of Burlington, and ultimately City Place rose there. Yeah. So it's the same process that we're following here.
So I do want to state, though, I mean, it wasn't just City Place, right? Because of that process, we got City Place, and bonus, we got the old Lash building taken care of.
Well, yes. I mean,
you gotta add that in there.
Well, yeah. I mean, one of the
Blanchard block.
Serious contenders for, again, what became City Place, but that proposal was Granite City Developers, which Mark Nicholson and his family and John Benoit and his family They joined and they put forth a very credible proposal. It was a really tough call. The nod went to do, but they didn't pick up their ball and go home. What they did was they looked around and they looked at the vacant Lash building, which also had sat dormant for a number of years, I don't know how long, and they turned around and they did a absolutely fantastic job of redeveloping that building into first-class office space. And anybody who's been in there can see that. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
Absolutely.
So we really got, a couple bangs for the buck on that one.
We did. And I'm not saying that that could happen again, because maybe that was, but, I mean, you won't know unless you try.
Well, yeah. Well,
and that's the thing.
That's you can say that about this initiative. You won't know unless you try.
Exactly. And that's what I'm trying to say is that you won't know. And the fact that maybe we could get 3-4 developers says, hey, I want to do business here. And next thing you know, they're developing that building. And who knows what else they could develop. There's lots of spaces in Barre City that could absolutely use some love of redevelopment.
Yeah.
And especially, as we talk about maybe our North End, it's just the opportunities are endless. I do want to make a comment about the purchase price.
Yeah,
Not purchase price, but the purchase of the building. One thing that, actually, let me circle back on a couple things. One, it's not necessarily, it doesn't have to be ARPA. That building actually qualifies for TIF, right? The purchase
I believe it would, although
Yeah.
I think TIF has to be extended and.
Working on it.
Yeah,
my
no.
friend, working on
I
it.
realize that. Yeah.
The bill is already in the works, waiting to be drafted and sent back to me, along with getting our
I believe there are a
400,000.
lot of people working on extending TIF for not only for Barre, but for other communities as
Yeah.
well.
One of the bills that I've submitted as a state rep is a project-specific TIF, an extension of our TIF, and also to get our money back that we paid extra into the education fund.
Yeah.
All those are going to be popping out probably in the next couple weeks. But to circle back on some of the actions that have been done, you mentioned that we attempted to purchase it for $400,000, 3-4 years ago, which did have unanimous consent of the council at the time. We have looked into. I think you said it at the meeting. We can't do eminent domain. The state of Vermont does not allow that to happen. It's not an option. And everybody's like, well, eminent domain it. Yeah, maybe in Connecticut, but not in Vermont. There's legislation that says you cannot do it.
I've recently been told that, and so there's that. But I think the practical reality of it is that eminent domain, particularly in Vermont, is an extremely unique approach.
Yeah.
It sounds good. I think in practice, I'm not an expert, but my judgment says in practice, it's probably not a practical solution. I believe the reality is that it would be a protracted, substantially expensive legal battle, and I would venture to say that there would be more money spent in legal fees than the $400,000 that the city is going to give, and with how much time lost and nothing productive happening.
Yeah, and I definitely want to follow up on that because you're 100% accurate about the litigiousness of that situation. And yes, there will be significant lawsuits, and we would spend thousands and thousands of dollars in attorney fees.
I truly believe it will be far exceed the $400,000.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, all you have to do is just look at previous cases where things have been litigated. So that's out the window, right? That's not going to happen.
It doesn't appear to be a practical course of
Yeah,
action.
and the other thing that people talk about is, well, let's fine them to pass an ordinance to, to do something, right? But you cannot make legislation to punish an individual. You can't do it. It's illegal. And
You can't legislate responsibility.
well, you're right, you can't. But you can't, to pass an ordinance that's specifically designed for one building, you can't do that.
Well, exactly, that
And
too,
we would
yes,
end up in court again.
Yeah,
And the fact is that every time we have passed an ordinance to try to raise the standards in Barre City, the individuals that own it have met those standards. And I know that I saw on Front Porch Forum, they said, well, what about this Pennsylvania law? And I went to that Pennsylvania law and I said we would be in the same position that we're in now, because it had to meet 3 criteria, and the Pennsylvania law did not allow for taking over of the property.
Yep.
It just, there's no simple, easy way to fix this except for purchasing it.
Yep.
And the fact that, the city is only going to pay the $400,000, which is what we had already said we would pay for, that's a pretty damn good deal. And I can certainly say that, that obviously wouldn't be the case if it weren't for your work on BADC.
Well, I mean, you can look at it another way. I mean, the return for a $400,000 investment by the city would be $600,000 plus. I mean, that's a 150% return on investment.
Right.
I mean, that's
Well,
not bad.
you know what? Here we go. Do you know, we talk about City Place. Do you know how much money we take in for taxes?
I don't know. You got the answer to that question?
It's like $290,000. I mean, that's annual. That's like 40 that goes to education, and the other half goes to Barre City. And that's part of our TIF, so it actually goes into paying off the work that was done on Enterprise Alley.
Yeah.
There's consequences to decisions that, are a little out of our comfort zone. And some of those consequences are really good.
Yeah.
You go to the Enterprise Alley and you see the work that you did, because that was an initiative by you.
Well,
And-
not by me. I mean,
well-
I implemented it because I was manager, but
Well,
there's
yeah,
a lot of
but
people who.
Let me just tell everybody, Steve was pushing for that. He liked it. and the benefit in things that don't really get a lot of publicity is what's happening to that property right now, the Enterprise Alley. We've got a program in there where it's taking out all the crap out of the.
Yes.
There's
That was a over $3 million redevelopment and remediation program. It really killed 2 birds with 1 stone. It ultimately accomplished the redevelopment, but it was a brownfield site that was targeted by the state of Vermont that had to be cleaned. The dry cleaning spoils had to be cleaned up. Fully a half of that $3.2 million was dedicated to the remediation and the installation of a long-term treatment system, which is the white building that sits there at Enterprise Alley. I think there has been substantial remediation. It hasn't gotten to the point where the state was ready to sign off yet, but it's made a substantial improvement in that area.
So basically, let's just say, not only did we get the great deal of City Place and Blanchard Block, and we also fixed the brownfields for City Place as well.
Yes.
But we are now also fixing the brownfields over there as well.
Yep.
And as part of this project, more than likely, if the city were to, or if BADC was able to purchase it, work with the developer, the city then could take it over, similar to what happened with City Place, get those grants for the brownfields there.
Yeah, there'll be remediation involved in the site.
Yeah.
And I've already had some initial coordination with the state of Vermont. We'll probably apply for umbrella protection, liability protection, and pave the way for the ultimate remediation of that site.
Yeah. It's all good things.
Yeah.
All good things. And I'm sorry, I know you got a presentation there, so
Well, no.
I'll let you-
I'm just using it for crib notes. I think
okay.
we're covering a lot of the territory. I guess I know I spoke to the director donations in the past. I guess what I wanted to make very clear about that is that the pledges by the directors are donations. They're not investments. There's no return on their investment. They're not going to get the money back. They are truly donations. And at some point, we maybe speak about the donation part of the process. But because BADC is recently converted to a 501c3 nonprofit organization, any donations made to this campaign are tax deductible. Now, that may not benefit everybody because it depends obviously on what tax bracket you are, but they are tax deductible.
Nice. That must have been, that was I remember you guys moving down that route. That certainly is really good for BADC.
Yeah. Some other points that I wanted to make.
Sorry, took you off the.
No.
I'm very excited about this project. And
Well, I am too. I am too. Some people say we go to raise $600,000. You know, how are you going to do that? That's an awful lot of money. I truly believe that this abandoned property is such a issue for most everybody in the city that I think, and I guess I'm hoping, that they will respond to this initiative. There's no doubt in my mind there is the financial capacity with the city of Barre to raise $600,000. Now, whether it happens or not, we're going to find out. But this is an initiative that's intended to provide a way to try to deal with this property, and we'll see if the community responds. Hopefully the community responds. If they don't, well, okay, then somebody else has got to find another way to do it.
Right. And one thing that, folks I feel like it's kind of lost on folks is that there's no money that's been put out the door on this yet, right? Except for the board of directors who have all donated money.
Yeah, BADC has, as part of the purchase option, it's not a big deal, but BADC has put forth a very common fee, a option fee. So we have paid $5,000 for the right to have this purchase option for 6 months. Now, if we buy the property, that $5,000 goes towards the purchase price. If we're not successful in buying the property, then that fee is forfeited. But that's a standard practice with purchase options.
Right.
So.
Yeah, but the city hasn't given any money yet.
No. The city. I'm glad you raised that point. There's no risk. Frankly, there's no risk to the city. There's no risk to the Barre Area Development Corporation. There's no risk to potential donors. First of all, we won't ask for the transfer of the city money until we know we will be successful. It'll probably be 30 days before. It'd probably be 30 days before the closing. Where our deadline for raising this funding is June 1st, give or take a couple of days. June 1st is an easy reference date. But the city has not transferred any money yet and won't be asked to do so until we get close to the finish line and we know that the fundraising will be successful. And again, if while donations are being made running up to June 1st, if the fundraising isn't successful, all donations will be returned to the donors. So there's no risk for anybody. I think some other points I wanted to make. Currently, that site generates about just under $13,000 in taxes. If you put up any kind of building there, it's probably going to be at least $10 million. I think City Place was $18 million. If it was a $10 million building, you'd probably receive, at least today's current tax rate, about $150,000 in taxes. That's more than a tenfold return on taxes. There are some other questions or concerns about this proposal. I guess I'd clarify that there's no tax stabilization involved in this fundraising initiative. There's no local tax dollars involved. Again, from the city's standpoint, these are funds that have either come from a grant or might come from the recent COSI bequest. They are not local tax dollars, and I think that's important to stress. I know there was another point I wanted to make.
Well, look at that. Leah's like being friends with
Yes. And there's no, even as with the City Place, there was no loss of taxes on the property. The taxes generated were always equal to or greater than the taxes that the city had when the property was vacant. So there's no loss of taxes on the property, no tax stabilization, and no tax exemption that's being requested by BADC or whatever. As long as BADC owns the property, we will pay the property taxes. A couple other points in no particular order. This initiative fully complies with the 2023 strategic plan adopted by the City Council. And one part of that city plan focuses on the redevelopment of downtown. If you read the city plan, I think it's the first goal is for focusing on redeveloping underutilized properties on Main Street. Clearly, this fits that case. In addition, it's also what's called an infill property, where it's not new development outside the city downtown. It's in the city downtown. It's replacing an abandoned property with a new performing property. So from that respect, it kills two birds with one stone. It meets and fully complies with the city's strategic plan, and it's an infill property. It's just, I mean, from my way of thinking, this checks an awful lot of boxes.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Oh, so what could be done with the site? I guess that's an important question. Well, we're not in a position to say, well, this is exactly what's going to be done with the site. But the process will determine what's going to be done with the site, just as the process determined what's going to be done with City Place. What we envision, or some of us envision, is that it would likely be a multi-story building. There would be retail commercial on the first floor because that's what's required by Barre City Ordinance. And this could be a 3 to 5 story building. We have had some renderings developed and they'll be on public display next week of a 3-story version, a 5-story version. Most likely what would come out of this is housing on the upper stories, whether it's 3 stories or 4 stories, most likely be housing. it's unlikely that more office space would be developed because in the current market there's a glut of vacant office space. Would I like to see a hotel there? Possibly, but I'm not sure that the demographics of Barre City support a hotel. But who knows? I guess my feeling is the possibilities are numerous, and they're going to depend on a developer undertaking that risk to develop a project that they think they can perform, just like City Place.
Yeah.
And so we have some renderings that we'll make available next week. We've, as you probably know, we had intended to have a press briefing, public launch of the fundraising campaign yesterday, but City Hall was closed due to some chemical odors coming out of the basement. So it's been rescheduled for next Wednesday, 10 o'clock, City Hall. We'll have a press briefing. We'll have additional information. We've prepared what's called a case statement. We have retained a professional fundraising consultant who, from my limited perspective, is excellent at what she does, but she's been working with us now for, I think, 3 weeks or more, helping to develop the fundraising campaign. And with the public launch, we will be off and running.
So here's the terrible question I'm going to ask you.
Sure.
Can we get those pictures before the press does?
Yeah. Right now they're on 24 by
putting you on the spot
24 by. Well, I'm happy to get them out there as soon as we can. Right now they're on 24 by 36-inch boards, but I've got some. No. I can forward to you. I can forward them to you. We got digital.
Yeah, I can tell you that Barre Beat and 802 Scoop would love to have those pictures to post them. We obviously don't want to cut you guys off, so you can certainly release them first.
Yeah.
But we would absolutely love a copy of them.
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to. I mean, the more avenues for getting out information about the project, the better.
Yeah.
So I'm all for it.
So we do have a question here.
Sure.
One, Mariah, I'm not sure what you're referring to. If you're referring, it has not sold yet. There's a purchase. There's an options.
Yes.
To buy. So
We
BADC has the ability to buy it.
Yeah, we have a legally binding document with the owners that says we have the right to purchase that property if we raise the money.
Right.
In theory, nobody else could. The irony is, in theory, nobody else could legally come in and buy the property out from under us. On the other hand, I'd be the happiest guy in the city if somebody came in and bought the property out from under us. So, but this purchase option, which is in a general sense a very routine document, formalizes the commitment of the owners to BADC and BADC to the owners that we want to make this happen.
And Kathy Chartier asks, what about being in the flood zone and the infrastructure plans to help prevent future flood damage?
Very good question. And I have checked into that. There's a flood elevation certificate for the building, which is just about at the level where the building is now. The building would have to be raised a foot, and I'll have to check myself on this, but my recollection is from the research I've done that in order to be out of the floodplain, it would have to be raised a foot, which is absolutely no problem. In fact, the architectural renderings that have been done, the renderings are from a far enough perspective that you can't appreciate some of the detail, but in my conversations with the architect, that question came up, and in their sketches, they've made, I shouldn't say sketches, they're exhibits, they've made provision for what that would be, and there would literally be at least in their sketch, in their concept, there would be an alleyway similar to what's in front of the Walgreens, Lenny's shopping center. You have that long corridor.
Yep.
Well, it would be similar, but in the case of 143 Main Street, it would just be raised a foot. So
And just to follow up on that, the City Place was a building that was not flooded, because they had built to those parameters.
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And that's one of the benefits of having new development now, is that they take into consideration the fact that Barre City is within a floodplain. In our flood maps, they all so when businesses do work, it's all above.
If folks stop to think about it, I'm going to broadly say any buildings built in the city in the last 10 years have not flooded in the recent floods. That's City Place, Key Bank, Jiffy Mart, the other bank on the Community Bank, Community National Bank. Any of those recent meaning 10 years, have been built to floodplain standards and haven't flooded. They didn't suffer any damage.
The courthouse didn't flood, did it?
No, but the courthouse is elevated.
That's elevated.
I think, well, frankly, that's certainly built more than 10 years ago, but somebody had the foresight to make sure it was high enough. Yeah, that's well above the.
Yeah, it's definitely a benefit to make sure that we're more flood resilient.
Yeah, I don't think it flooded for some reason. I was thinking they might have had some internal basement damage, but I'm not sure. I can't be sure of that. I can't be sure of that.
The courthouse?
Yeah.
But either way, the other ones that have been built within the last 10 years, since our floodplain maps.
So this would have to conform to the floodplain maps, and so any new construction is going to be flood resistant.
So that's another building on Main Street that's not going to be negatively impacted by flood,
Right.
which, we're all aware is likely to be more problematic as the future.
Yeah, they're probably going to be more,
right.
not less.
Yeah, unless we dredge the damn river.
BADC isn't going to take that on.
That's okay. There's a big omnibus flood bill coming, and guess what? It has riverbed maintenance in it.
Yeah, that's the term du jour.
Yeah. So, do you have anything else you want to?
Well, I guess I would recap sort of in summary. I just made some bullet points, but so the 143 Main Street Initiative addresses the #1 chronic down street complaint. It's consistent with the city's strategic plan. It's an infill project with housing potential. No loss of taxes to the city. There's no risk to the city funding. It's has a potential for 10 or 15 fold increase in property taxes. The BADC directors have skin in the game of up to not up to, but 75,000. There are no director conflicts with this initiative. There's no personal gain by any of the directors. This is a civic initiative undertaken by BADC. And my view is let's let the public decide. If the community who's so upset with this abandoned building really wants to do something about it, this is a way to do it. And I can't guarantee it, but I personally believe, and I'm reasonably confident that the financial ability of the community is there to sustain this.
All right. Well, so Steve says, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it.
Jeff Bergeron's listening.
Oh, hey, Jeff. Hi, Jeff.
He says, I think the courthouse basement flooding was due to a malfunction during the sprinkler system annual inspection. And testing.
I thought I remembered something about that. Yeah. Thanks, Jeff.
So there we go. Another building that's built to floodplain standards. So, Steve, I just want to say thank you so very much for coming in and giving us this information. It's extremely crucial for our community to have it. You know, what often happens is, you know, we hear things out on Facebook, Front Porch Forum, and we don't really know what's going on. And I know that there's, you know, a lot of times people don't know, you know, feels like things are happening quickly, but there's a lot of work, a lot of time that goes into this stuff, and, you know, people know about it. It's just, you know,
Yeah, what I find, frankly, I'm not on Facebook or Front Page Forum, in part because what I find is that, or what I've heard is there are a lot of speculative comments or uninformed comments where people have perceptions, but they don't have the facts.
Right. And this is what this is for,
Yep.
to get those facts out there. And you coming down here and presenting this is getting those facts out there. And I know I appreciate it. I see the comments on here. People are super appreciative of you giving this
Well,
information
I enjoy
out.
it. I mean, you make this forum pretty easy. This is
I'm a
like
pretty-
having coffee.
I know. I've been known as I can't remember what Raylene called me. I'm a puff piece person. I'm nice. I try to be nice to everybody.
Yeah. That'll get you further in the long run.
True.
The other thing I want to say, you know, if anybody, I'd be happy to, you know, I've got a number of, I guess, speaking engagements or whatever. I'm going to be speaking to Rotary. I'll try to line up a thing to Lions. But if anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to either take a phone call. My phone number is 802-477-2255, or my email address. It's kind of long, but it's smckenzie2@myfairpoint.net. So smckenzie2@myfairpoint.net. I'd be happy to answer any questions, sit down with anybody, have coffee with anybody. I really believe in this, and I'm very hopeful that it's successful.
Yeah, and people can also reach out directly to BADC.
Oh, well, yeah. Sure. Yes, we have all of this information on the BADC website, and I believe the attribution for that goes to Carl Ranker, and I believe Shannon Alexander had. If you go in and take a look at that website, I think they did a terrific job in putting that together, and it's got I think it's got every bit of information you need. It's got our the case statement. It's got information on how to donate. You can actually donate online through the website. So by all means, please go to badc.com, and you'll find it's right on the home page. Click on the link, and it'll take you right to this whole initiative.
All right, and just as a side note, as an addition, before we go, I do want to say congratulations to the $1 million that's in the Budget Adjustment Act from the governor's office for
Well,
Prospect Heights.
Yeah, you can probably thank the mayor for that. I had nothing to do with that. but that's
another thing
yeah,
that
yeah,
Barre
yeah,
area development is involved in.
Yes. Yeah.
And it just goes to show the good work that you guys are doing.
Yeah.
But all right. Well, Steve, once again, thank you for coming.
I enjoyed it.
the
I'm glad to
Barre
be
Beat.
here. And I'd come back again another couple
Hey,
months if we need to.
Anytime you want, the mic is here. If you want, you can even start your own podcast.
Oh, no.
You can do it.
That's above my pay grade.
That's above your pay grade. All right.
Thank you
once
very much,
again,
Mike. I really enjoyed this. I really
Thank
enjoyed
you.
it. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And want to say thank you to everybody for watching the Barre Beat podcast live from the Inside Scoop Studios here on Main Street, Barre, Vermont. We hope you have a lovely evening.